Welcome back to the next session, which today is about kindness and compassion. And we've started by listening to a meditation from Finding Peace in a Frantic World entitled Befriending. So you may wish to listen to that before you hear what we've got to say. So if you do, it's on SoundCloud, as with all the other meditations that we've been following. Just a little recap of what's in the meditation, which is, it starts by grounding and settling, as always, finding the breath and so on. And then introducing the concept of no matter how people look on the outside, they might be lonely on the inside, and that goes for other people. It might go for ourselves as well sometimes. And it introduces us to the concept of wishing ourselves well, to start with, and saying to ourselves, may I be free of safe and free from suffering, happy and healthy, and may I have ease of being. And then bringing to mind people who have loved you unconditionally and trying to love yourself in the same way. And then bringing to mind people that you love now and wishing them well. And then going to other people, maybe strangers that you see in the street, wishing other people well. And maybe going on to thinking about somebody who you might be finding difficult and wishing them well, and then wishing all of humanity well. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. So obviously there's lots more detail in there, but a lovely meditation. Yeah. So any thoughts or comments, Anne or Leslie? The meditation.
What struck me when I was listening to that was, wouldn't this world be a better place if everybody could really listen to that meditation? You know, people, I think it would change people if they could really listen to that. Yeah, it just struck me while it was going. I've listened to that meditation before, but it just struck me then. You know, if everyone could hear that, it would be, we'd be halfway there.
It would, wouldn't it? It would, it would stop all sorts of terrible things in the world that happen. Yeah,
it would make a great difference. Because it's something that, as you said, Leslie, I've listened to it before, and it does make you feel that there's so many possibilities with just those few thoughts that you go in, you're visiting, you're given different scenarios or different people to deal with, but the thoughts are the same and the wishes are the same. And yes, it would be have such an impact. It's very, very, the whole thing is very calming, very calming. Mm-hmm. And you're able to step back and think of other people that you may not bring to mind without going through this process in the same way. Yeah, yes, working on our muscle again by practicing. And what I find interesting is that each time you come to a certain meditation, you learn new things from it, you know, subtle things that may not have occurred to you before. So they say that it's a practice to build up your mindfulness muscles. And I'm understanding that more as I practice more. And I find that encouraging. So how lovely. So let's have a look at some of the underlying concepts to the topic. So I'll share my screen with you. There we go. So just some notes on the underlying concepts then for this topic. So thought number one. So we start by
being kind to ourselves. And that can be the most difficult of things. It can be relatively easy to be kind and compassionate towards people that we love and our pets, and you know, other things that we're very fond of. Kindness and compassion to ourselves. As we've gone through this course, people have said that's quite a tricky one. So starting off with that is like, ooh, gosh, getting perhaps the most difficult thing over and done with first. So being kind and compassionate to ourselves, it's in our society, it's maybe viewed with suspicion or negativity. So there are misconceptions about what it's like to be self-compassionate and kind to ourselves. So, you know, there are theories like, well, ooh, but if you're kind and compassionate to yourself, that means that you're weak, or it makes you weak. It's self-pity, it's indulgent. And if you're kind and compassionate to yourself, it might get in the way of your success, because that's all important in our society. Being successful. So we've got a very competitive society, very tech driven, very busy culture, and in our culture the belief is that being hard on yourself is a key to achieving goals. And in British culture particularly, having a stiff upper lip is the best way to deal with anything that arises that's difficult, emotions or adversity. And other myths include being self-compassionate means I might get lazy and I won't achieve what I want to achieve in life, or it makes me selfish or soft or self-indulgent, and other people are more important to me, so they need to be my priority, not me. And another one, quite an emotive thought, I don't deserve kindness. So a whole load of stuff around being kind and compassionate to ourselves, which might get in the way. And obviously it's going to be different for each individual person. So how do we feel about being kind to ourselves?
I think that now is the old way of thinking. I think I do appreciate now it's to everybody's benefit. If you are kind and compassionate towards yourself, then you're more likely to be that way with other people, because you feel better, so you feel more able to give to somebody else. I think it's an old way of thinking now that you shouldn't be. You know, it's hopefully leaving that behind now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry.
No, you're all right. I was just going to say that actually carrying out the process of mindfulness is being kind to yourself. That the whole process, it doesn't matter which mindfulness session you do, whatever recording you listen to, for that moment in time, the only person there who is benefiting from anything is you yourself, because you're following that, you're thinking so intently about what is going on in that moment. You're thinking about your body, you're thinking about your feelings, and that whole process is part of it. That's what I think. And I think to take time out from whatever's going on, think, well, this is my little bit of time, this is my 15 minutes, my 20 minutes, that's my kind to myself. And as Leslie says, and you said before, looking after yourself enables you to give of your best. I mean, there are periods of time, and it happens to all of us, especially if we have a family or older relatives, that they're a priority, and you find that you're spending a lot of time with them and you're doing one thing after another, and life's very busy. And it is easy not to just sit back and take some time out. But I mean, mindfulness has given me another route. When my mum was ill and I was going every day to be with her, I used to get up extra early in the morning. And where I lived then, there was woodland not far away. And I used to go for a walk in the woods. I didn't realise what I was doing then. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is me time. I just thought I'll go and do that because I knew that the day was going to be difficult. She would have had her carers in the morning, and I would get there when they'd gone and spend the whole day with her and deal with what I'd got to do. But in the morning, I'd go ultra early, and that walk in the woods, didn't matter what the weather was like. The walk in the woods was me being kind to myself, but I wasn't aware of it. I didn't think of it like that. But, you know, the whole of mindfulness, these sessions, whatever the session is, that's your little bit of kindness.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. And I've had similar experiences, you know, when there are very adverse circumstances going on, you know, people being very poorly, or you know, death, you know, big life events, then it can help to, I think it can help to carry you through. And that whole kind of being kind to yourself and putting back, it is almost like you've got batteries.
Yes.
You charge up with some kindness that then will carry you through these terrible events and help you to then go on to help other people in those circumstances. So how does your feelings about being kind to yourself, how does that differ to how you feel about being kind to others, or does it differ, or
I feel it's easier to be kind to somebody else, so I get that. That's I certainly get the feeling that, you know, I want to do something, I want to be helpful to people, I want to think about their needs and do what they would make them happier, and I do that. That does sort of go higher on the level of things that I think about rather than me. But I'm getting a little more me orientated, I have to say. A little more me orientated, and that's really because of this whole process of all the different elements. But I haven't really taken time out to think about this. Yes, I have to say I do prioritise other people. I think that's because we have a need to build up relationships and to network and to have friends, and you want to show that you want that friendship by being kind to. And you hope it's reciprocated in that respect. I think it's a natural reaction with the majority of people. I'm not saying everyone.
How about you, Leslie? Have you got anything to add?
I think, like Anne, when you do go through difficult times with the death circumstances and what have you, and your parents, you do these things because you want to do them, and you know, the people who matter to you. But I think if you can then, when you've done what you need to do, you can then think about yourself and be kind to yourself. It helps to stop you from burning out. You feel a little bit more, you know, not so wrung out and completely exhausted. It can help get through the difficult times.
Yeah. Definitely.
We all have them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we probably have already gone through this, but the next concept is being kind to yourself is good for you and for other people. So yeah, we've been touching on this, haven't we? So it's important for our own well-being, self-kindness. We spend more time with ourselves than anyone else, and how we relate to ourselves has a huge impact on how we feel. So the research is there that tells us that self-compassion plays a vital role in our mental and physical well-being. So yeah, we spend more time with ourselves than anyone else. That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Yeah. But yes, of course we do. We do. Yeah. And if we're not kind to ourselves, then, you know, that's a big, big influence in our life, because we live with ourselves all the time. So that's quite an interesting one.
But also, if we're being mindful, we could have loads of people there with us in our mind.
Yeah.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So other things that arise then, that self-compassion involves treating yourself kindly, and at the base of that, it's an acknowledgement that as humans we're all in the same boat, and everybody hurts sometimes, everybody feels lonely sometimes, everyone feels dejected, etc., etc. And then it means that we're motivated to balance our negative thoughts and emotions by acting to relieve our distress. So being kind to ourselves can help us to repair almost damage caused by life and, you know, adverse circumstances and negative thoughts, negative emotions. We can help ourselves to recover from those by self-kindness. So true self-compassion involves being honest with ourselves, fully accountable for our actions. Doesn't mean to say that we can get away with any old thing, because we're just being soft on ourselves. But it's done with an understanding of what it really means to be human, the knowledge that no one's perfect, including ourselves. It recognises that life's hard, and being understanding and kind and supportive to ourselves can help us to live our lives in ways that's much more helpful than being self-critical and beating ourselves up. So self-compassion and kindness paves the way for compassion and kindness to other people, because we can become more accepting, more forgiving of human imperfections. So yeah, in the meditation, when you're starting off with yourself and thinking, well, sometimes you feel lonely and you feel dejected and so on, unhappy, miserable, and then applying that to other people. Because I don't know about you too, but I think for me, you know, in life we're rushing around, and we can tend to be in our own little world and not notice other people, and not then kind of, you know, have that thought of what's that person thinking today, and how are they today, and you know, they want to be happy, and they're going about their lives, and you know, I think often you know, it's not possible to give the time and the thought to that process, but it's useful to train ourselves to do that, because suddenly when you're looking at somebody who's just barged in front of you in a queue, for example, you're thinking that person wants to be happy and healthful, and they want to live a good life and to have nice things happen to them, in the same way that I do. You know, they're just another human being, and they have imperfections, and so do I, and we're all kind of in it together. It's big stuff. So, in what ways are we kind to ourselves, and how does it differ from how kind we are to other people? So, what ways can we be kind to ourselves? So, Anne, you mentioned going for walks.
I can think of lots of doing things. I can think of my long hot bath with some bath oil or candles. I can think of as you've said, going for a walk, perhaps traveling to see somewhere I've not seen. Those are all little kind, but I can make myself a cup of tea and settle down with a book. But sometimes it isn't the doing, is it? It's what's going on in your mind, and it's sitting, the thinking, and the taking time out. It's like eating my breakfast without listening to or watching any news, just accepting that what's going on at that moment and concentrating completely on it. That's being kind to myself. Because a bad habit I have got is too much input. You know, it's the old story, isn't it? Oh, I'll do this while I'm doing this. I'll listen to that. I'll put that on. And sometimes you think, no, just concentrate on what you're going to do now. That's being kind to myself. It's just stopping myself in my tracks and saying, right, hold on a minute here.
Yeah.
And I think as well, being kind to yourself sometimes is forgiving yourself if you've done something that you wish you hadn't.
Yes.
Just spur the moment. Just forgive yourself for it. Because as you say, we're human, we're not perfect, we all make mistakes. So I think it's kind to manage to forgive yourself if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a theme that keeps cropping up, isn't it? Yeah. And there's a permission in there as well, isn't there? That we keep on talking about, permission to be kind to ourselves, and permission to do things in a way that's kind to ourselves. Yeah, like forgiveness. Yeah, like treating yourself well. So I think it's interesting when they think, well, bring to mind somebody that you love unconditionally, or a pet, and how you would treat them, and try to treat yourself in the same way. And then I think that when you start thinking about that, you think, well, I mean, I've got dogs, so my pets don't hold grudges against me, and they don't blame me, and they're not critical, and they give me kisses, and they want to be with me, and they're pleased to see me. They wag their tails and stuff, So if I could treat myself like my dogs treat me, then gosh, yes, what a lovely life. And why not? Yes, why not indeed? Yeah. I think dogs have got a lot to teach us about mindfulness, and we've said this before as well.
Yes.
Haven't we? Yeah. So does it differ to how kind you are to others? So you might find it easier to be kind to others. We might go further to be kind to other people. I don't know if that's how it is with you.
I must admit, I do try, mainly with some of the older relatives that I've got. They want to talk, so I try to choose the right questions that I know will spark them off, and they can go, and then I feel I've given them the opportunity that they've wanted, because they're there at home. They may have people coming in and out, but then basically they spend many hours sitting, thinking, and but they like to verbalise. I must admit, I rang an elderly second cousin yesterday. The connection on the phone wasn't brilliant, but it didn't matter, because I said, how are you? How are you getting on? I didn't have to say much else there. I did, and that was it. And Avril went on, and she went from one topic to another topic, and she was really enjoying. And then I would try and sort of perhaps prompt something else, but I didn't need to. She had a lovely time, and then when it came towards the end of this long conversation, she says, oh, it has been lovely. It has been lovely talking to you. And I thought, well, I'm pleased about that, but I never got a word in edgeways. But that didn't matter. That didn't matter. It's almost as though I think, well, I could be doing this and I could be doing that. That's the old things that you could be getting on with. But no, I've telephoned Avril. I want to see how she is, so I shall listen to how she is. And it's asking the right questions and showing interest in what they've gone through if they've had a problem, or asking how they are, how the family is, and this sort of thing. And then I listen, you know, so.
Yeah, and what a great act of kindness that is. Yes, people.
But I don't always listen to myself. That's the problem.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next. You know, if you try and apply the same concept to yourself, do you give yourself the opportunity to express yourself in the same?
I'm
sort of way?
getting better. Yeah, I am getting better at doing that. I am getting better. At the risk of looking as though I'm talking to myself, I have to think.
Well, you can listen to yourselves in other ways that are not verbal, can't you? By you know, listening into your body and what that needs and so on. That's another way of kind of listening and being heard. Yeah, which I think most people do, don't they? They just want somebody to listen to them, want to be heard. And so therefore, in our busy life, when everyone's rushing around, it is a kindness to just give people that same opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it is very important, because that often is, people don't expect you to have an answer to their problems, but they just voice what's going on. I think it's really important to listen.
Yeah, and then often when they've had a chance to externalize, to verbalize what's going on, they do actually feel a lot better, and they start to think of their own solutions, or they move on from it, or what, you know, once they've got it out of their system. Yeah. So how do we cultivate self-kindness? So we've already said many people find it easy to be compassionate to others, especially to begin with. And that can be a good starting point, because we can start to then think, well, I can be compassionate to other people, and these are the kind of ways that we do it. And then to start to think, well, could actually apply that to myself. So it's a good starting point. But we need to practice receiving compassion from others, as well as being compassionate to ourselves. So that's another thing. Receiving compassion from others, we're not always good at that, are we? We're, you know, sometimes it's much easier to give out compassion than it is to receive it in our society. Oh, you're supposed to, you know, stiff up a lip. No, I'm fine, you know. So a way to visualize it that's suggested in the Little Mindfulness workbook, which is where these notes have come from, amongst other sources. It can be helpful to imagine how a kindness coach might help us to approach how things that life throws at us. So the kindness coach would be a wise and trusted ally, someone who's truly on our side, rooting for us no matter what, care for us deeply and unconditionally, and knowing that we're not perfect. They understand all the events in our lives that have brought us to the present moment, and deeply accept us as we are and not how we wish to be. So thinking about the words you might say to someone else who is experiencing distress, sometimes it's good to imagine saying the same phrases to yourself in the same way, just like we did in the meditation. A kindness coach, that sounds nice. Somebody who's wise and trusted and on our side all the time and cares for us deeply and unconditionally, and knows all about what's gone on before in our lives and what's, you know, what we've had to deal with and so on, and who accepts us as we are. So we
need to be our own coaches.
There you go.
I was just thinking that. I thought, well, the only one who knows absolutely everything about me is me.
Yes.
The only bits I don't know was when I was too young to know them. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, having thought about, what would this ideal kindness coach look like and be like? Who would that person be? Actually, once we thought about how we would like them to be, then we are the only person really who can take that role in its totality. So
So then to think about, well, what would your kindness coach want to work on with you? What sort of things? So let's step out and imagine it's a third party again for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were sitting here now, what sort of things would they want to work on with you?
Well, the one thing particularly that I've come to terms with is, well, I'm not sure I have, because there are some times that I make myself quite cross about it, is that I don't always quite achieve what I want to achieve. I seem to get to a point, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, for example, with my drumming, with my ukulele, with all the other things that I'm involved with and what I do, there's a level that I aim for, there's what I would like to be able to do, but I just, all the while, I seem to fall short. And I keep thinking, well, I'm doing the best I can. I'm certainly trying the best I can. I'm trying all the routes that I know that will make it, that will help me achieve what I want. But I never quite get there. There's just a little bit that's missing. And it's a case of accepting that, but then not accepting it to the point where I could think, yeah, but you're not trying hard enough, are you really? You should be doing more. You should do more practice at this. You should do more. And that's a little bit that my kindness coach could, well, it would be a permanent job. Because there's always that element of, have I made the right decision with this? Would it have been better if I hadn't started it? And that's one thing that goes around quite a lot, I'm afraid.
But it's the journey. It's the journey.
Well, yes. It's not. It isn't. Yeah. I mean, you've seen the poster, haven't you? It's not what the end of the journey. It's actually going along the road. Yeah. But it's. Thank you for being my kindness coach. But it's true. That is one thing. And I can pick that up all the way along my life. Whatever I've done, it's almost as though I've just missed. But in the big picture, as you say, in the journey, there's been a lot of happiness, and there is still a lot of happiness. So
yeah, and that's what counts, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
You mustn't beat yourself up. That's what my coach say. Don't beat yourself up when you think you haven't reached where you want to be.
Yeah.
That you're trying, that's what matters. It's it's just the fact that you're trying and you're doing it. That's what really matters. It is. Yeah.
It's interesting because I'd made notes on what would my kindness coach want to work on with me, and my first thing is on having more realistic expectations for what can be achieved. Because the concept of falling short suggests that the goal has been set perhaps in an unrealistic way. And we come to here in our achievement, and then we think, well, that's not good enough because my achievement should have been over here. Where actually, this is probably a good enough achievement.
Yeah.
And maybe our inner critic has set this goal here and said, oh, but you're no good unless. No, you push and push and push and push until you get to this point here. Yeah. And often it's just not realistic, is it?
I think it's more important to say to yourself, look how far I've come.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, look how far I've come. That's an achievement in itself.
Yes. Yeah. And what would that all-wise, all-seeing, all-kind, all-rooting for you person say to you? Would they say, well, you haven't done a good enough job there, have you?
No.
No.
They wouldn't say that. They'd say, well done.
Yes.
I'm really
good
pleased
for you.
with what you've achieved.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
what we would say to other people. We wouldn't knock them because they haven't reached that.
No, it's
goal.
true. That's
Oh,
it.
that's really well done.
Yeah.
We don't to other people like that. You know, we never say things to other people that sometimes we say to ourselves. We're really unkind to ourselves sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't say those things to somebody else.
No.
Yeah.
Should
Yes.
say. Yeah.
If you think maybe what you'd say to your children,
Yeah.
then
Yes.
imagine talking to them like that. I know what my
Yeah.
children would say to me if I did, but
But you wouldn't, not with your children. You just
no,
sorry,
because
No.
you're nurturing them and you
Yeah.
see that they're human beings and
Yeah.
that, you know, they're trying, and good for them for trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or with your students, you know, when you were teaching.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anything else on your list then for your kindness coach?
Not really for me. I think that covers it really. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I've got a few more things on mine.
I was going to say, how long have you got?
Yeah.
I could go on, and that's really unfair, because it's unfair to me to say the things I shouldn't be thinking like that. But I'm trying to think of the things that that I need to be a bit kinder to myself about, and there's quite a lot of those. Come on, Claire, cough up.
Right. Okay. So on my list is my kindness coach would work on the concept of it's okay to be human and to have failings and to get tired
Yes, yeah,
and to get upset and to get a bit overwhelmed sometimes and to get stressed. You know, it's not a failing, it's just what it is to be human.
Yeah.
Do unto yourself as you do for others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is what we've been talking about, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to take responsibility for everyone. That's one on. That's specific to me. I'm you know.
No, that's good.
I always think everything and everybody is my responsibility. And when I've had counselling in the past, they said you need to learn to, you know, to be able to step back and think, I'm not responsible for everything. In that kind of way. Just being human, I think, probably encapsulates it all, doesn't it? It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay, Claire, to be human. I mean, in some mindfulness books, then they say visualize your younger self and think, what would you say to your 9-year-old self, your 12-year-old self, your 40? You know, what would you say to them? And you'd say, it's all right. It's okay. It's okay to be human. It's okay to, you know, to not reach your goals every time. It's okay to get upset and stuff. It's all right. It's okay to be human. That's what we do. Just like our mind wandering in the meditations. It's okay. That's what minds do. And that's what we as humans do. Gosh.
Okay, it's okay not to have all the answers to everybody's problems.
Yes.
You know, because we just haven't.
No. In life, sometimes there are no answers. But by just listening to people, that kind of, you don't, like you say, you don't have to have all the answers to that. So yeah, powerful stuff. And again, like I say, one that every time you revisit it, things occur that maybe didn't occur.
Different things, yes, different things each time.
Because you're in a different place each time you listen, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. So kindness and compassion, fabulous topic, and one to keep being revisited. So that concludes really the course of topics that we set out to do. The last session that we'll be doing will just be about staying mindful and kind of having a look through, agreeing through the sort of topics we've covered, and what sort of techniques we can use in daily life to kind of keep it up and to stay mindful and keep going. So I look forward to chewing that one over with you next time. And if you're joining us on YouTube, then thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll join us for the final one. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.